John Singer started his career in corporate finance. He came to INSEAD to do an MBA in 1978, and after that was hired by McKinsey and became a partner. He then worked for Granville Holdings and set up one of the first pan-European private equity funds. But in 1993 he joined Advent International, where he has been a partner ever since. When you joined Advent, you had to leave a fund which you'd set up. Was that a tough decision?
It was a long getting to know time, yes, and it was based very much on having to get comfortable that I wasn't jumping out of the frying pan into the fire, always a problem as you move jobs. Is what I'm hearing what I'm going to actually get? Private equity, particularly now, brilliant at marketing. These are intelligent people, and they all use the same words. Every single fund is upper quartile, which mathematically is interesting. They're all hands-on, they're all sector-focused, they're all highly industrial, they're all specialists. They know the words that investors want to hear. And in job interviews, you get exactly the same words being used to you. So you have to somehow work out what is true, what isn't. And I was definitely uncomfortable until brainwave on this guy's part said, come over to Cape Cod, meet the whole team. And then you actually sort of work out, you can actually see this is not marketing hype, this is actually reality. And that was, I went home. I remember I just went home to chair a board meeting in Austria, and the excitement I just felt at that time, yes, I found it, this is it. But so it needed something to just trigger that.
When you're investing as a private equity fund, I guess you have criteria about the kind of businesses you want to buy. But once those are met, how do you actually decide where to invest?
It's management team, and management team, the old sort of cliche, because all of this will only be possible if you've got the right relationship with management. And certainly I've upset many of my younger members of the team when they say, wow, this is a brilliant company. I say, yeah, it is, but we're not going to touch it. Why? Why not? Because I said, I'm not going to sleep at night working with these guys. And in fact, for me, a very important thing is that the most important document I sign with management is a 3-page prenuptial letter, which I draw up, which will it'll include, say, 10 or 11 points that they're worried about, and about 10 or 11 that we are worried about. And this is all to do with respect, how we're going to treat each other, ethics. Not a word of business. I don't talk about it with lawyers. They won't understand a word of this. Talk about it with your partners. And I said, at sort of signing, we're going to start with my 3 little page letter, which we'll have gone through in great detail before. You don't have to sign, but if you don't sign that, Advent isn't signing the 10,000 pages of shareholders' agreements, because this is so crucial and fundamental, how we're going to work together. And so it's things like, on my side, there will always be 2 things. One is, you're going to treat us like partners and not like financiers. And 2, I'm going to hear the sort of bad news faster than the good news. So it's that side of, you have to really, so you can analyze markets, you can analyze competition, all the wonderful things you learn at INSEAD. These are crucial because you're trying to justify an investment thesis. But if you haven't got the quality of people, business ultimately is truly to do with people. And if you have the wrong people, you will not achieve your investment thesis.
What does your business really consist of? What do you do all day in private equity?
It's a mixture of things, and I think this is a really good question. What does one do all day? I think, and this is important to help people to understand whether a career in private equity makes sense. The first thing you have to do, of course, to use a checkbook, you've got to have an account, so fundraising. That happens sort of later in one's career, that you've got the credibility for investors. So unless you specifically want a career in the fundraising team, which is a different career, but a very specific one and a very important one nowadays, that's not the first thing to think about. The next thing is you have to find companies. So this is where, if you have sector specialization, if you have done something which gives you access to companies in a sector, so as I always say, so that you're finding truffles rather than porcini mushrooms. You're digging deep, you understand, and you can find companies rather than waiting for investment banks to just bring them on a silver tray. You've got a great competitive advantage, and that is something in your interviews you should be sort of stressing. The next bit is execution, which is actually, you found your truffle, you're now sort of going into the mode of checking the markets, etc. Make no mistake, this is pure commodity. Any idiot, a skilled idiot can do that. So, all of that stuff, don't sort of spend your interview just sort of telling people what a brilliant corporate finance man you are and you produce the most beautiful shareholders agreements in the world. This will not get you a job. The next element is adding value. Adding value is the most crucial element. That is what makes the difference. It's EBITDA growth, because the other two drivers of capital gains, which is multiple arbitrage and leverage, are out of your control. EBITDA growth is under your control. So if you can persuade someone, hey, I really understand businesses, I know how to help it grow, I will work to make that growth happen, you're valuable. Exit, you're back to commodity.
Lots of people, I think, are interested in private equity, but is it something you can join in mid-career?
I think the industry likes people with experience. In other words, I think the toughest is, you come out of university at 21 and go in. Now, you'll need some experience in something, whether it is investment banking to become a good modeler, or some sector experience, as I was saying before, to have a chance to get in as an associate. Coming after INSEAD, not a bad time if you've had some relevant experience before. 5 years based on, INSEAD and then your pre-INSEAD experience is a very, very good time for coming in. 20 years after INSEAD, if there is a logic and if you're very lucky, there may just be a slot at sort of partner level or sub-partner level, and I made a transition from one fund to another. So it does happen. It does happen, and you can do it. And certainly within private equity, you will get moves to come into private equity. However, I would say don't leave it too late.
The people who created the private equity industry, like you, John, are coming to the end of their careers and I guess retiring. How does that affect the dynamics inside the firms?
No, that's a really important question. Yes, how do you transition? And that is going to be now one of the key deciders that sort of investors look at. Do we continue investing in that fund? And one of the things they want to see is, to what extent have the people at the top just cashed out and just say, good luck to those who remain, or to what extent are they planning for the future? And I have to say, without naming names, much though I'd love to, that sort of there are quite a few who have cashed out. And you got a clue. I find it immoral to sort of say, right, having done well out of my fund, I'm now going to float it on a stock market, or I'm going to sell a significant part of the management company, because that is cheating. That's not transition. That's cashing out. That's taking money out of the fund, which your younger partners are going to suffer for, because they're the ones who are going to be having to pay out a substantial part of the profits they're making to someone who has paid you as a founder a large amount of money in your pocket. This is immoral. This is absolutely wicked, and I'm afraid it really disturbs my ethical sense. So I think I'm hoping, as I sort of transition myself out from private equity for commercial reasons into private equity for the arts and for education, which is my passion and hobby outside Advent, I hope that we are leaving a very smoothly transitioned firm where investors will just sort of feel comfortable, John who? No, don't remember him. I know Fred and Humphrey and what have you. And then you've succeeded. So I think it can be done, but you have to plan it and you have to be interested to do it.